So I'm back. We're gonna call this session "Driving with Dom." That's what we'll call it. Getting woke with Dom on the road. Which, I actually had some people commenting saying that, hey, stupid, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be making videos on the road. Well, hey, I'm hands-free, and I don't think I'm breaking any laws by speaking while I'm driving. So we'll see if one of these ends up with me getting into an accident. But not too many cars out here on the road today. And I just picked up a coffee from the local Panera and went to the drive-thru. And so I'm in the road for the next 30-40 minutes here. And I wanted to just update people on some stuff I'm seeing from my collective research on the internet. So first and foremost, I'm sure almost every single human being that is watching this video right now has probably already seen Out of the Shadows. And they've probably, I'd say half or more of the people watching this video probably shared it with at least one other person. If you have not, by any chance, you have not seen Out of the Shadows, that is a great, strong red pill for people that, probably people that are not, maybe not on this timeline yet. Maybe they're still thinking that, the illusion is real. So that's out there. Also, I was doing some deep dive into Tom Hanks today. I'm watching Tom Hanks very closely. I think that SNL performance was a combination of green screens and deep fake technology and voiceovers with his brother or something. There's something wacky going on with Tom Hanks. That whole thing just doesn't make sense. I've seen multiple images now of Ellen and Oprah with tethers on their legs. It really looks like the celebs are under house arrest. I think claiming that you have gone into CV-19 quarantine pretty much means that you've either taken a deal or you've gone under house arrest. It just you look at the whole Tom Hanks thing, and there's just endless anomalies, all the way from his photos when he got back to America. He had his hands up in the air, and they photoshopped in Rita, into the whole deal. And there's about 1,000 anomalies with Tom Hanks. They've discovered the Greek photos from 2017 that Tom Hanks had taken and tried to pass off as current times. I mean, just you could write a book on just the weird stuff that's gone on around Tom Hanks in the last 2 to 3 weeks. There's so much. So I think it's pretty safe to say, and as Tom Hanks said himself on the show, I'm the canary in the coal mine, and I'm America's dad. Well, America's dad before was Bill Cosby, and the canary in the coal mine, obviously, look at the Kevin Spade video, or was it Kevin Spade? It's David Spade, and he says we got to watch Tom Hanks to see how he's doing. I mean, it's all lining up. So I saw there was another fellow today that I saw a video of on Facebook, and it was this guy that's a professional boxer. I think something Rodriguez. I can't think of his full name right. David Rodriguez, is that it? And this guy, he claims that he's connected to a lot of A-listers, and he said flat out that it's all going down, it's real, and a lot of A-listers are going down right now. It's on, it's all, none of this is an illusion, and so I mean, there's more and more every day confirmation. Now I know a lot of people were probably pretty upset that there wasn't some earth-shattering thing on the 10th, or over the weekend with Easter and all. We were expecting a little bit more, and we've all been let down before. We've all grasped at these dates and had these seemingly well thought out, well crafted theories on the internet, on these threads about what's going to happen when, and all these screen caps going around of screen cap this, right, all that stuff. So all that stuff it's hard not to get tied into that and to get into the hopium. And I've taken a lot of hopium in the last couple of years, but all going to happen when it's supposed to happen. Everything's going to happen when it's supposed to. It's true. So if we haven't had validation yet of some of these things, they're coming. And at least we have validation. We know what's going on. It's just that the masses don't know. But when things like Out of the Shadows come out, man, that's a big burst forward of consciousness right there, because that's going to wake up millions. That already has, in just a couple days, woke up millions of people. There's going to be many more woke from that. So we're keeping a close eye on that situation. And we're just watching a lot of things right now. So, I'm watching a lot of what's going on with the food industry right now. There's a lot of stuff going on, bizarre. The shelves are not full. A lot of weird things going on around food. It looks like there's definitely some sort of an organized attack against farmers, small farmers. So it's really important to think about trying to grow some of your own food, or taking a much broader control of your food supply right now, because it looks like there's going to be some problems there. And there really already is, but it's becoming more evident. You had Smithfield, which I believe is now owned by the Chinese, if I'm not mistaken, who's the biggest pork producer in the U.S., shut down the other day, and we've got reports of farmers dumping out millions of gallons of milk because they have nowhere to sell it. There's something going on in the food. There's some sort of a power play move. Because there is still, at the end of the day, look, we're not out of the woods yet. There's a whole internet rumor going around, or I shouldn't say rumor, but there's a whole entire way of thinking today. With the sealed unsealed thing, is Trump handing us over to FEMA, or is he taking full power? Right. So there's still the battle between good and evil is not over, and maybe at the higher realms it has been won, but here on Earth in the third dimension it has not been won yet. I think we would know if we had really won, because the dark rulers of this planet have not ceded yet, and they still have a few tools in their toolbox. So there's still a lot of chaos going on. We still have some of these Dem strongholds. We still have corrupt people in our government. We still have corrupt intelligence officers at every level. So to say that we've won, like, definitively in this realm, we've not in my eyes. But we're getting closer every day, and it's gone from a trickle to a waterfall. So we got to stay strong right now. The next couple weeks are still going to be very challenging. I'm looking at some of these press conferences, man. It's getting really weird. I mean, people were knocking Trump for making this little video the other day, using the media, using the words that the governors had said, and they're giving them a lot of trouble. But I mean, look at the kind of rabid reporting that's going on. Look at this just sickening politicalization of every single topic. And now we think that the reopening of the economy is going to be politicized. So if indeed the plan for the cabal is to go ahead and stall the recovery efforts and try to keep things closed down in order to crash the economy and get their guy in, we're going to see a battle take place over that. And some people believe that that's part of the reason that there's all these tanks and heavy artillery all over the place, is because we're going to have to go in and knock, crack some skulls to get things flowing again, right? And I happen to live in a state under extreme measures right now, possibly the most in the country in some aspects. So we're not too happy about that. There's been a recall effort here. There's a lot of people that are not happy about being told that they can't go visit loved ones. A lot of people taking care of sick relatives right now. They're afraid to go to hospitals, and now they're being told, well, you can't even go to your mom's house, right? It's illegal, according to them. There is no constitution right now. It's been suspended. So that's the reality as I sit here today. of the situation is that we do not have a constitution that's active right now. So best bet is to avoid authorities as much as you can. I'd say avoid situations that you have to be around authority. And honestly, look, driving a car in good times, you pretty much give up all your rights when you step into a motor vehicle, right? You're completely at the mercy of the police officer. So it's a little bit different right now. It's definitely not it's not the way the forefathers intended it to be. So I think there's going to be an incredible effort coming to fight back against some of these Dems that have really infused themselves into this authoritarian role. And their handlers are probably telling them, you need to lock this thing down. You need to keep people at home and crash your economy so we have a chance at surviving with Gitmo, right? Because they know that their time is very, very close to being up right now. Trying to make sense of all this blackmail stuff, because look, at the end of the day, I don't believe that. I'm certain that more than 2/3 of Congress and the Senate and people in power are blackmailed, right? The question is, of those people, how many of them had no other choice, and how many of them are just truly evil? I think that I'm assuming, from my intuition, says that they're making a decision on an individual case basis of who can be redeemed and who's just irredeemable, right? So somebody like HRC, who did just horrific things and grotesque things and just loved it, freaking loved it, right? Just loves it for decades. I don't think that's a redeemable human being. Okay, some guy that, let's say he was an honest, hardworking, even a Democratic senator or a congressman, and went to a party somewhere, and then woke up like Godfather style with a dead child, and they said, hey, we can make this all go away. And that guy spent the next 20 years playing ball, right? And was forced to amass a fortune that's a reality too. Do you execute that guy at Gitmo? These are going to be hard. You can't just take everybody out, because not everybody deserves to be taken out over this. And that earlier on, back in 2017, or before that, I think we would have said, like, let's get them all, right? But now, as we learn and as we grow throughout this thing, we're seeing that how complex it is, how many rabbit holes there are to go down. And so I am becoming a little bit more understanding, and I'll tell you, I had when I had my ayahuasca journeys, I actually connected with a lot of intelligence agents. The place I was at, it was probably one of the, from what they told me, my guides, when I connected with them in the ayahuasca ceremonies, told me that it was one of the most watched places I could ever go, because the people that rule us, and good and bad, know how powerful a place this was. So they were watching very closely, and and they told me these beings that talked to me in the crafts said that, look, we're watching them, they're watching you, we're watching them. We have way better stuff than they do. We have way better technology than they do. So we like to play tricks on them. We like to give them a hard time, and make things materialize and dematerialize in front of them, and confuse them all the time, and do all this funny stuff, right? So we've got a lot more protection than we think throughout this whole thing. Doesn't mean that we can just sit back and do nothing, but there's much bigger forces at play here. And one of the things I got was, I was always so pissed about the three-letter agencies being corrupt and just really beat me up, and I still am. But there was also a lot of good people there too that have been thrust into a very bad, very malevolent system, that have done things that they didn't want to do because they had to play ball for whatever reason, whether it be blackmail or their families being threatened or something. Because everybody has a weak point, everybody has a breaking point. Ultimately, in the society we live in, it's almost impossible to find somebody that's not controllable. And that's why, just like in Out of the Shadows, it's and I can use that as a reference now that it's out. You don't get past a certain point without being controllable. It's as simple as that. There's a reason why we do, all that stuff, right? Because that's to show that you're owned, right? That's the kind of world that we live in. Is that you don't go past a certain point without getting branded, and it doesn't have to be a Nexium style brand. It can be a video of you doing something that would ruin your career if it came out. And so, hopefully, I pray that system's ending soon, because it's such a bad system. And so we really need to heal from this. Justice does need to be served. It needs to be served with excruciating care and attention to detail and compassion, though, because there are a lot of good people trapped in a very bad system. So I have compassion for these people that have been tied up, been wrapped up in this. I'm not saying everybody is a saint and just wrong place, wrong time people, because there's a lot of really bad people too that are really bad, that are truly deeply evil, and that they didn't need to be coerced into doing anything. They are the ones doing it. So for those people, we hope justice is swift. I'm getting a little bit. I think we all are getting a little bit tired of this game of picking out these clones and these deep fakes and stuff. I mean, I know that we're playing wacky times we're in, but the Q movement and the researchers and the truthers are getting tired of looking like idiots as they play games on us, I'm seeing videos with Biden looking like a clone. I think the real Biden was cloned years ago, and I think a lot of these people have been taken out. There's just too many anomalies surrounding them to make me believe that they're the same person anymore. We've seen cloning. They have a hard time cloning things like earlobes. There's certain flaws in the cloning process, although it's very incredibly good. Not good, but it's incredibly effective. I don't think that the clones are holding up as well as they would like right now, and all this deepfake technology is being used, to make people appear where they're not really at. So, it's time for the PSYOP madness to end, man. I'm sick of it. I think we all are, and a lot of people that are just joining us now, thanks to these revelations coming out, and everybody sitting at home all day on social media and all this stuff, learning the truth. At least they didn't have to deal with all this nonsense in terms of they didn't have to know what it was like to feel like they're gaslighted so much, like we have been a little bit. But they're gonna feel it too. They're gonna feel. Imagine what it would feel like if you were just learning about child sacrifice for the first time, and Luciferian pedophile rings and stuff like that. I mean, they're learning that for the first time now. That stuff that we probably knew about 5, 10 years ago, whatever it was. Some people have known about it since the 90s or more. I mean, God, some of these guys, I hear these guys, these Navy guys, and these kind of dudes are like, I've been red pilled since 1990, talking about the deep underground military base battles going on. A lot of earthquakes in strange places, guys. A lot of stuff going on underneath us here. And I noticed that the Mercy and the Comfort didn't have anywhere near the capacity they thought. Now, I've heard some theories. Again, I don't have any proof of this, but it kind of makes sense to me when I start to put the pieces together. When we all heard about children trapped underground, we're thinking, oh man, we're just going to be pulling out these beautiful babies. They're going to be, these people are ready to, these are like people like us, right? Well, you start to really think about what it would, if there is a massive operation like this going on. A lot of these people have probably never even seen daylight. And from what I understand and gather, these people are human beings, but not in a sense like you and I would be expecting under normal circumstances. They may be, these may have been people that have deformities due to genetic experiments that took place in black budget programs and escaped into the darkness and are living in absolute squalor and darkness for generations, and things that deep horrors that you couldn't barely even imagine could be going on down there. And so, like you had those mass graves starting to show up on in New York, and I would imagine that if they're pulling kids out down or people out from these places and they're burying them in places like that, those are the kind of people. So those aren't people like surface population people that they're putting in those places like in New York. That was it, Baker Island or something. Those are people that are, could be heavily deformed. They could be beyond being able to be saved. Like they could have been just disfigured, like some of those pictures that we saw coming from the Mercy and the Comfort. And maybe they thought they were gonna hoping to save more people, but now they're finding that there's just nothing they can do, that these people are beyond being able to be saved. And maybe the only answer is to, unfortunately, end some of their suffering. Because I don't want to get too dark in this video, but there's a couple write-ups out there on what these things are actually like. If you really want to go searching for that, you'll be able to find it. And it's when you really start to think about what this would be like if you've had, we've had deep underground military bases for decades and decades. They've been doing crazy experiments, probably more then than they are now, or who knows, right? They've been doing crazy genetic experiments and then releasing these things underground and stuff, and creating insanity, like true, like hell. Like we've seen pictures of just like, what is hell? It's like, seas of suffering bodies, reaching out in the darkness and moaning and just filth. And that's probably some of what they're dealing with down there. It's probably so far beyond what you and I could imagine. It's not like people that just got plucked off the surface sitting down there, getting fed 3 meals a day and living a normal life. It's like generational deformities, just like this massive human, like go look at this, depictions of hell, like where you see like seas of people just, just like screaming out and with their arms in the air. Like it's got to be horrific. So, who the heck knows what they're pulling out of these places? But this is the unseen darkness of the planet, and it's being cleaned out right now. So, God rest their souls. Let's hope that these people find peace somehow in this, chaotic and insane time. And, we pray for them. We pray for an expedient recovery of our economy and our planet. And we wish everybody love and light. Say a prayer for them. Meditate on their peace, having peace, and the ending of their pain and suffering.